Hey, Michelle. How are you
Good
this
evening.
evening?
I'm part exhausted and part excited, right? Like I don't know about you, but these streets have been extremely busy, okay? Um, but I get to end my day hanging with my homies, so it makes it all worth it.
Yes. And I'm praying that God will increase your strength during this time. Because, yeah, these streets got a different type of a pull these days. I mean, in all directions, right? So I'm believing, God, that through this our time together, you'll be strengthened just as well as everyone else. Well, with that, welcome, world. Welcome to the Terry Talks podcast. Let's talk, where we talk with real people about real challenges, real solutions, and real estate investing. Right? We believe that it's super important to come to you in our authentic selves. So then that way you can tap into this wide open space that the Lord has available and accessible to us. My hallmark is that wellness leads to wealth. And I do believe that we all should be healthy and whole in every area of our lives. For the Bible says that God wish above all that we prosper and be in good health, even as our souls prosper. And so when you come over here, we want you to experience something a little bit different than what you may receive elsewhere. And as many of you know, I recently added this segment called Hanging with My Homies. For me, and as Michelle alluded to, as she's going to introduce herself, the streets got a way of pulling you and pulling you forward, right? But sometimes it doesn't allow you to remember where you came from. It doesn't give you an opportunity to really appreciate where you came from. For some, it might trigger some childhood traumas or even adult traumas. And for some, it makes us kind of go back and kind of be like, man, before the world got all crazy, like before the world got chaotic and cluttered, right? There was a life before that. And so I wanted to be able to create a space where we can go back down memory lane. And even if you cry, if you shout, if laugh uncontrollably, it's still a release. And in this day and time, your nervous system will thank you for that. My nervous system, your nervous system will certainly thank you for that. And so I'm so glad to have you guys here. I count it an honor and privilege. You do not have to be anywhere else, but you are locked in and you are tapped in. And I am super, 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 super grateful for that. So this segment that's personal to me, hanging with my homies from the hood. Now I don't advertise that because like with the hood part added to it, because some people got their panties in a bunch, right? Or they might be a little bit offended. And so we don't want to, offend anybody. But that's the home, that is the homework for me. I'm hanging with my homies from the hood. This is where we sit with people who knew us before the growth, right? Before the titles, before the businesses, back when life was corner stores, bus rides, school buses, block energy, and figuring it out day by day. And tonight I'm sitting with someone who knew me as a middle schooler, I believe, and a high schooler. We shared certain spaces together, known and unknown, consciously and unconsciously. But we have some memories alike based on the neighborhood that we came from. We share some trying times and some of the funniest, realest moments growing up around Allegheny Avenue. This isn't a polished conversation, so if you came for that, I need you to check out. In fact, I want you to go and get your favorite. I was gonna have coffee today, but midway I'm gonna go get my Kool-Aid. I made some Kool-Aid because back then we had 50 pounds of sugar, probably was diabetes in a cup. And so I'm gonna bring that. You go get your beverage of choice. Hopefully it's something that reminds you from back in the day. But what we want you to do is let your hair down, relax, chill, lock in, and then go down memory lane with us. So with that, I want Michelle, welcome to Terry Talks. You're not new to our community. However, there may be some folks who are new to you. So it looks like you're multitasking. So I want you to wrap that up. And while you're doing that, I'm going to say to our audience, go and like and share and subscribe. Go invite Pookie and Ra and Layla and them, and tell them we are pulling up to the Terry Talks podcast where faith, finances, and freedom intersect. Come get you some. I want you to tell them just like that, right? Go get them. Go get them, auntie and uncle and your brother and your past distance cousin and your third cousin, because we had about 25 cousins growing up in the hood, right? There really wasn't biological blood, but go and do that as Michelle come to the stage and introduce herself in the best way only she can do.
Yeah, I was over here telling my mom and everybody else. Let me just go ahead and just text my one more sweetheart in
Okay,
my family. Like I want all my superstars out here to know that we are live, so I can stop now. I got my phone on mute.
it's
First of
okay.
all,
Listen,
thank you. Thank you. I just want to stop for a second, and I know I can do this because she's hanging with her homie. That means that she knows me beyond just the surface handshake. I just want to give all honor to God. I am just at a place in my life where I am emotionally grateful because when we stop and for those of us who have a church background, it's like when we used to say a song, when I stop and think things over, right? When I stop and think back to all that each of us have had to climb through and climb over, the fact that we can sit here together as leaders, as owners, as visionaries, and stand with our head held high with dignity and grace, grit and love, right? And still just have the mind of God to serve. It is not easy. Oh my God, it is not easy being in leadership. And it is absolutely not easy when you are in a place where your leadership involves you to oversee people. Both Terry and I are people leaders, right? Yes, she has all of this amazing work in real estate and countries beyond and buildings, but we also lead people. And Terry, the fact that today, just reflecting on how the world has changed in such a harsh, stark manner, in what feels like a blink of an eye. And while there are adversarial forces out there that are doing their best to distract us or derail us, we can still tonight, as leaders and queens and women of faith, to stand 10 toes down on the fact that because we leaned into God, because we held on to our morals and our ethics, and despite all the fake, awful, mean things that happen all around us, we still own our businesses and we still are here to tell our stories. I just needed that moment to say, to God be the glory.
listen, I love it. I love it because one thing about our hood, no matter what went on, right, there was a sense of love. There was a sense of community, right? And that we had each other's backs, right? And so, this is the time where we come together. And so I'm grateful that you did that, because it's a reminder. God is over then. And that's going to be one of the questions I ask you. Like, when you look at your life now, um, and when you were back there, way back there, could you ever imagine it to be what it is today, the good, bad, and indifferent? But one thing, God is faithful, and he will not let his people, I was reading this the other day, fall or fail. And if you can just get in alignment with that, no matter how
Mm.
heavy it feels, you will see the full manifestation of that. So if you want to shout it again, I hears you have the space to shout to God be the glory one more time. If you need to get that in and out of your system, bring it.
I'm good. I just needed to set the tone that while we're going to laugh and we're going to reflect, the reason why we can do that with so much confidence is because we know our foundation, right? And so I never got a chance to tell Terry the story about my first memory of Terry. So you all are hearing it the same way that she's hearing it. So probably the first time that I saw Terry was maybe I was somewhere between the fifth and the seventh grade. And there was a school in Philadelphia that was called Spruance, but there was also a school called Wilson. And we started out riding yellow buses together. Now Terry and I did not ride the same school bus together, but we stood at the same corner to wait for our bus. And Terry was a little bit taller than most of the girls, right? She has these beautiful long legs for a reason. She's always been a little bit taller than most of the girls around her. And so because Terry and I was never in the same class together, I didn't know her personally. Me and my friends knew her as the tall girl who we were scared of, right? We were like, don't mess with the tall girl because we might get beat up, right? So we had already classified Terry as the girl who could probably fight. So let's just not mess with her because our arms was too short to mess with her, right? And so it's so funny to look back at that as adults because Terry didn't even know that me and my friends were on the planet, right? Like she had no idea that we existed. And here it is, we were all scared of Terry because she was the tall girl. Now, had we just took 4 seconds to say, "Hey, girl, you want to jump?" Right? Like you want to get in the rope game. That's for those of you who are not from the city. When you say, "Do you want to jump?" It does not mean beat the person up. If we say you want to jump, that
Right?
means that we were playing something called double dutch.
So
And that was like, okay, that was our way of bonding and at the time exercising, right? So we never asked Terry for a jump. And so I think back of that as an adult, like, man, what a missed opportunity that children just don't get a chance to take advantage of because of their insecurity or their fears or what someone else told them. We miss out. So fast forward, that's like somewhere between fifth and seventh grade. That was my first memory of Terry. And then I saw her again in the hairdresser. Now I instantly knew who Terry was because once again, she's still tall, she's still beautiful, she still has long legs. But now I'm not scared of her, right? Now I'm just like, okay, she's just one woman to the next, right? So she was so kind at the hairdresser, and I'm just like, man, I really messed up as a little kid. Now, fast forward, Terry and I found some kind of way through God's divine intervention. And this is what's so crazy about God. Could you have told me like 40 years ago, this beautiful, tall little girl is going to be your homie and you're going to be in a thing called YouTube together, talking about this moment? No, you could have never convinced me of that. So that's how Terry and I originally met. Fast forward to today.
well, listen, she said it. I am learning it just like you all. And I don't remember the hairdresser. And it's like, heck, not only children but adults, we can really miss out because we're reading a book by its cover instead of reading all of the content in the book. And so, but I am grateful that the Lord allowed saw fit for you and I to come back together. And in fact, I think I mentioned to you at an event you had coming into this year. I do an inventory of what communities I'm in, who I'm aligned with, and I see if I should continue in that vein. And without hesitation, you were one of the top 5 that the Lord said, I need you to stay and lean in and stick close by, right? And so we're still unraveling that, but there's God does everything with intentionality. And so I just am looking for the bigness and the greatness that are going to come out of this. So thank you for receiving me. I think Lamar was the conduit between us reconnecting. So thank you for that. Okay, let's go back down memory lane, and that corner and that school that we caught the bus at was 27th and Clearfield, Whittier Elementary School. And it's so interesting that you remember the schools like it was Wilson during that
Yes.
time. So I am grateful for your memory. I think once I left from down there, I was like deuces, right? Because there's some stuff went on in my hood, right? And
Yeah.
so even before I came to Allegheny Avenue, we lived down 25th and Diamond Street, and so and 23rd and Burks and all of that. And so there was, like some transitioning, but to God be the glory. I think that's going to be our theme. Okay, so Michelle, let's go back to corner store nostalgia. Take me back to Allegheny Avenue. What was, because I believe you were on 24th and Allegheny, right?
Yeah,
Or 20.
right off of 24th, on a side street, which I won't say only because this is the internet, but yes, I will say
Of
that.
course. Absolutely. We listen, I'm former law enforcement, so I'm picking and choosing. But tell me along Allegheny Avenue, with thinking about the stores we had, what was your go-to corner store? And what were you buying every time? Was it the penny cookies? Was it the now and laters? Was it the 10-cent chips? What was your thing?
Oh my God. Everybody over 45, put your hands up because I'm getting ready to take you there. Now, when I was ages 10 to maybe 14, I didn't know that I had a poor diet, okay? All I knew was I had only had an average of 25 cents to 50 cents a day to go to school with. And so my thing that was normal, right? I didn't feel poor. I didn't feel left out. It was normal for me to take 25 cents to 50 cents to school a day. And so if I knew that that was my budget, I had to be very thoughtful about that. So I went to a place called Angie's Penny Candy, and Angie's was the only penny candy store in the hood. And so my go-to, if I had 50 cents, was probably a bag of Middleton barbecue honey chips. And when I had enough pennies extra, it was maybe 10 cherry balls, 10 strawberry cookies, and maybe 5 now laters, right? So Angie's was the plug because Angie took so much care and patience with us because if you had 11 cents, Angie would let you buy 2 cherry balls, three
Well, wait,
lemon cookies.
was Angie's at 27th in Allegheny?
Exactly. Right
Okay,
on the
okay,
corner.
okay.
Right on the corner, right? And so I'm glad that you asked this because some people, this is a global, so we don't know where some people are watching this. But for those of you who grew up in inner cities, and for those of you who grew up in hoods, you can recall the place that you used to go to be able to bargain shop. And I bargain shop very well with 50 to 25 cents. And so what this memory is doing for me today is like you can the society can say what they want to say about me. They can try to disenfranchise me. They can have slang that's derogatory against me, but baby, there's nothing that you can do to stop me because I'm from a generation that ate 25 cherry balls for breakfast. Okay, okay. If I could survive 25 cherry balls for breakfast, boo, please, please, your oppression, come on, you late. Okay.
Right? Listen, we ate hard apple candy um sticks. Like you remember I had the stick and it would be the apple and they were hardening it and it felt like only a few stores carried it. And then what was that thing where I don't know that it was a fruit, but we would pick the cherries or some kind of fruit out of it. What was that, Michelle?
I'm not sure, but what you just made me remember is, and this is again, this is for my people over 45. All y'all 27, 28, and 32. Y'all, you call my mom in the room, call Unc in the room because they're gonna be with us on this part. But we also ate something Terry called Sour Patch Kids and Nerds and Pop Rocks. Okay, this was breakfast of champions. All right, okay. God had a
Some pop
special
and
anointing.
we would and look and we would get all crazy about how like it could just explode in our mouths. Like, yes.
That part. And guess what? We still standing healthy, glowing. Our skin is okay. Listen, they could do what they want. We was designed to overcome every obstacle.
Amen. Listen, so I remember that. I remember Angie, and I remember walking into the store, and it was like a clearing casement, and I too would put my change up on the counter and be like, "What can I get for this?" And she was the most. Yeah, she had mad patience for us. Yeah, that was so good. Thank you for reminding us. Bringing that back to our remembrance. So
Uh-huh.
the other day I was like out and I was chilling and on a drive and there was a call for the music back in the day. And I started listening to like Run DMC and Rob Bass, and I was like, man, like even if they was talking about Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up, they wasn't talking about Bang Bang Shoot 'em Up. I feel like they were the music back then was just different. What dances do you remember we used to do back then? And I want you
All
to
right.
try to in your seat, like demonstrate them.
Well, I mean, I considered myself an avid dancer, right? Like that was
Did
my
you,
thing. And then
Michelle?
I always brag about the fact that I was in some local rap videos, all right? This is when polka dots and Paisleys were in style. Got a little feedback.
Wow.
Um, Polka dots and Paisleys was in style, right? So I I prided myself on being able to show up, being the dancer at the party. What was I doing? I was doing a little bit of the fila. I was doing the lotto. Then I stuck with it. The WAP, right? You know what I mean? Okay, so come on, all right. My over 45 peoples, don't play. You was whopping and feline and doing lottos as well. And if you over 50, you was absolutely doing something called the snake. Okay, that was a little bit ahead of us, but we still did the snake. We were still kind of doing. Terry, she got it. But just to show that we did evolve, Terry. I After we got past the WAP, the snake, the lotto, the
The
feli,
Cabbage Patch, you
um,
can't forget about the Cabbage Patch.
come through here. Okay, we can't forget about that. But I'll say we evolved into something called the butterfly, but the butterfly was all about hips and feet, so that's going to be hard to demonstrate. We evolved into that, and then I'll close my dancing chapter out with the house era, la da dee, la da da, right? That's how I close my dance era out because baby, if I would clap my hands and be the first one doing some she's homeless. Once again, Google into your device what is house music, she's homeless, it will all come up. But yeah, those were my dances.
Listen, I love that. I love that. And I remember like we would do the Running Man just at the drop of a dime. Like, that's when you felt liberated. At least I did. Now I ain't dance. I didn't subscribe to professing that I was a dancer, but low key, I thought that I could go on any, what was back in the day, the old timers, the man with the deep voice, and not the
Oh,
band
what was he
stars
doing?
something. He would just be in his mellow voice talking about when the people was coming up. um
Don
ah
Cornelius? Don
Yes,
Cornelius?
yes, yes,
Soul Train,
yes.
everybody.
And Soul Train, Soul Train. Right. And I just thought that we looked so beautiful. And, you wouldn't have never believed, in my opinion. And I guess that's why maybe we were just sheltered with oppression and from oppression. But you would never have known the challenges that we went through as a people back then, because I would watch those people and all I would just love to say, the soul train, like, and then watch our women, they just be getting it, and they all like, so,
Baby, one thing that our women know how to do is to be able to shake our hips. And I'm glad you hit this conversation when the music is, because there's two sides to this. And I like to have this conversation because I actually teach a workshop talking about the music. Now, what I like to bring to the audience's attention is the era changed when Terry and my generation, we're what you call Generation X. A lot of people forget to talk about us. They people who don't understand generational differences typically say baby boomers or millennials. They forget that there is a generation that is between the millennials and that's between the baby boomers. And most of us were born in the late 70s till the end of the 80s, right? That's the core generation of Generation X. And so what's significant about us versus baby boomers, see, baby boomers, we would have just come out of the era where our parents or our aunties, right, or our uncles, they didn't know anything about a thing called rap. That did not exist for them. They were still wearing suits and gowns. But they did get funky with the James Brown era too. Okay, so they was tired of the button up classic look, and so they was like fighting the power. They was wearing afros. They were wearing short hot pants. They were wearing. That's when Earth, Wind and Fire was out with like the real tight clothes and Patti LaBelle. And we said, all right, they took it there. We're going to take it a step further. Okay. We're tired of all this singing. We're just going to say what we have to say over music. So then we had something called hip hop to the hippie, hippie, hippity hop, hop. You don't stop, right? To the bang, bang boogie. Okay. Don't get us started. Terry's ready. All right. So we decided that we didn't want to even be focused so much on dressing up. So we decided to make sneakers the thing. And so that's when the Run DMCs come in with the leather sweatsuits. We really wanted to showcase financial wealth. So we decided to have on big, bold gold jewelry or onyx earrings that hung to our shoulders. We were into the leather trench coats. Why is this all important to you? And why am I sticking the fork in this part of the conversation? Well, mainly because when we talk about music, we were a disruptor, right? We were a complete disruption to the music industry. So a lot of people were really angry with Generation X because they felt like we didn't have class. They said, this is never gonna last, you rebels. But yet our generation changed music forever, forever. And we will always be the talk of the rest of the world because our voice gave people the power to say what they wanted to say, even if they couldn't sing.
yeah, well, thank you for calling that out. I always said the late 80s, mid to late 80s and early 90s music, to me will always be the music. Ain't no music, ain't. I said ain't no music like the music that we lived through. We had an opportunity to enjoy. And I think about Mary J. Blige. She was one of my favorite because she could really, in my opinion, speak to everywhere I was, even in my teenage years of having a boyfriend, shouldn't have had a boyfriend, mad because I had a boyfriend, wanted to throw the boyfriend away, right? And I could really live through that, and I felt that she was my friend, like she was my friend, right?
Well,
So, go
these
ahead.
people were not only our girlfriends, but they was our men. So again, to my O heads, to the true O heads, yes, Mary was our girl, but baby, LL was my man, because when he said, "Sometimes I stare at the wall, and in the back of my mind, I hear my conscience call, telling me I need a girl who's as sweet as a duck." Okay, right? LL, I don't know who else he was talking to, but when he
I
told me
need
he needed love,
love. Do,
okay,
do,
I wanted to
do,
sign up.
do,
Okay,
do.
I
I need
wanted to
love.
sign up. All right. So, we were also the generation that got a chance to speak with a bit more lower guardrails too, when it came to expressing ourselves, and that was also so controversial. This is what I'm really trying to get to. I wanted to tie this little history lesson into this music because I want to tell Generation X and I want to tell baby boomers, y'all need to stop being so stuck up. Seriously, right? Like, I just want to tell y'all, I say y'all, stop playing, because you all now are older. You're 50, you're 60, you're 70, and all you tend to say is them young people. Oh, they so, oh, them young people. Oh, them young people. You are the same young people who were in the park smoking the ooey, okay? You did it first, okay? My mom, Unc, all right? Doing it after dark, that was not our generation. That was your generation, okay? Your favorite singer, which is Rick James, he's the one that said, Mary Jane. And he was not. Terry, he was not talking about a girl, okay? Mary Jane was the ooh wee. And I always like to have this contrast, Terry, because though people who have aged be hating on the young people because you are too old to still do it. Like, leave these young people alone. You too hard on them because you was doing it too. I digress. I can't hear you.
I said, listen, it sounds like you really wanted to get that out. So I'm glad that we created a space for you to tell the bougie people in the back, like, listen, stand down. Come on out, and as you opened about how there is great intention to eliminate, eradicate, and erase the efforts of Black folks, this is how we keep it alive. And I think that it's important. I know that there are some folks amongst us who they've misconstrued it being a victim by keeping alive what we know, right? But the goal is, we're not remembering it to get a buy-in from anybody. That's out, right? We're remembering to make sure that we don't allow history to repeat itself. And so I am grateful for environments like this where we can go back and we can talk about it. But I want you to share with us a little bit about just some things that we may have seen, some faces, some familiar faces that were fixtures and staple in our neighborhood. Like, what was the lady's name who would be at Broad and Allegheny every day, and what was she saying?
Okay, so you definitely took me there. I'm going to talk about, for those of you who grew up in the Philadelphia, North Philadelphia era, or you took what we call the subway or the orange line. there was a woman who was on fire for the Lord. I mean, I don't know if you can be more fiery or in love with God than this woman, because she had a doggone billboard to tell people, okay? She wore a big, giant, large cardboard. No, it was wood. A big, giant wood sign with rope tied to the cardboard on the back of her, on the back and in the front. And it said, and she would yell out at us, repent. If you want to see the devil, just look in the mirror, right? And she didn't just say it. She sang it all up and down the subway. If you want to see the devil, just look in the mirror, right? And so as a kid, we all identified her as the crazy lady, right? But now, 40 years later, I'm saying she was on to something. She said, if you want to see the devil, look in the mirror. And so I appreciate that lady 4 decades later better than anybody. I want to go to Broad and Olney, right, which was almost the last stop on the Orange Line. And there was a gentleman. This is when I first got a job. There was a gentleman who would come to maybe 100 people a day, and he would say, I haven't eaten in 3 days. Can I eat? Now, the first time he tell you he hasn't eaten, I did say that correctly. I haven't eaten in 3 days. The first time somebody tell you that, you're like, oh my God, okay, I got some money, I got some soda. But then every day at 5 o'clock, dude would meet me and tell me that he hadn't eaten in 3 days, and it was just yesterday, and I gave him a sandwich and $1. All right, so those are the two people that I want to reflect on. Thank you. Amen. Hallelujah.
Listen, that reminded me about things I used to eat back then. You know what? One of my favorite combos was a pretzel and Doritos. That was my favorite combo, and I would only eat the middle of the pretzel. Like, did you have a favorite combo back then?
Baby, you did not eat unless you went to a place called the Cheltenham Mall or the Gallery to get yourself an Aunt Annie's pretzel. Okay, you was not black or young or beautiful if you did not have an Aunt Annie's pretzel. All right, that's what we just flat out did. If you could afford that $1.50 pretzels, first of all, you had some celebrity on your life, because most of us didn't have pocket change, right? But you could afford to pop that pretzel, you were special.
You were special. I don't know about that. Well, I did a little slinging back then, but whatever. So I might just had a couple more coins than the extra average teenager back then. But child, I was in paradise and I lived off of that. One of the other things, and I got a question for you, but one of the other things that um I enjoyed was the Chinese store. Now, regardless if they told us that they was cooking rat and mice in there, my 3 chicken wings with salt, pepper, ketchup, and hot sauce, and my gizzards, that was that was my go-to. Like, I listen, I don't know what was happening, but I was eating it like it was gold.
I just want to apologize to the entire Asian community, right? Like, we at home, there was so many stereotypes, but no matter how many stereotypes or false stories we talked about for the Asian community back then, because we just did not know better. We did not know collaboration over everything. We was every day we could. I definitely had 3 wings, salt, pepper, ketchup, and some doggone fried rice. Okay, because that's also the era where our parents had us home without babysitters. Now, some of you have evolved, and your parents wouldn't dare leave you home by yourself. But baby, we had something called latchkey kids. I know some of you haven't Googled this. Go right ahead, latchkey kids. We did not have babysitters. And we didn't have no cell phones and all that. Our parents said, "Don't open that door for nobody." Okay. I see that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about for the note that just came up. That parent said, "Don't let nobody in my house. Don't go out the house." And if we was trying to see our friends, we would just peek through the blinds, and on the kitchen table our parents, at least mine, she picked me up for sure. Some wings and some fried rice.
Listen, you ain't never lied about it. I'm like, I guess back then they didn't care if it was a fire hazard or not. I didn't even have a key to get out the door. Like I say this all the time. I think a little bit they was borderline child abuse, right? Neglect. I don't know, right? Like,
It would be different
but
today for sure.
and listen, if you had the gall like I did and my siblings and climbed out the window, by the time you climbed out of the window, the neighbor was calling and your mom left the job, and by the time you couldn't even get out, like I don't even know how she got there that fast. Like, ma'am, I thought you was at work, right?
That's
um
when we had something called Town Watch. And back in North Philly and the Logan area, we had literal signs up in our windows and it said Town Watch. And these what we would call the early snitches, okay? And so this is why when Terry or me or our neighbor try to climb out the window, the town snitches who called themselves Town Watch, they had some kind of way they could call our parents. Now it wasn't no cell phones, so they was calling people on their jobs, telling people what their kids was doing. So trust me, when they got that call, oh, it was they did not come to play.
and didn't. And you bet not act like you gonna side eye the person who snitched. I remember, that same bus stop. Like I would be the person that I would leave the house one way and had a change of clothes that I would change on my way to the bus stop. And somehow I wouldn't make it to the corner of the first corner, not the so I guess that would be 26th and Clearfield. I wouldn't even make it to that first corner before like here she come. Like but you know what, when I think about that, and as you said, the old crazy woman was onto something. They were onto something. And I believe that, we were protected from a lot of things. It wasn't no such thing back then. You might have mumbled it that, the old woman needed to mind her business, but you never verbalized it. And I do believe that those things kept us honest, and the things that we probably could have gotten into more than we had already gotten into. We did not. It restrained us. And so I'm grateful for those moments. I do want to take a quick second for our sponsor. Our sponsor is Built to Last, Legacy and Wealth Builders Collective Community. This conversation is why we do what I do today. For those who don't know, this episode is powered by Built to Last and the Legacy and Wealth Builders Collective. We created the collective for people just like you, people who didn't start with access but decided we were going to learn business, ownership, and real estate anyway, right? It's a community focused on financial growth, personal development, and building legacy together, not alone. As Michelle said, we focus on collaboration over competition because we understand group economics and the power of it. And it will be opening soon, so stay tuned. So if someone who you're called to more stability, more ownership, more impact, stay connected because the doors are opening and we are building for real and exponentially, not just for today, not just for tomorrow, but for generations to come. So thank you, Built to Last, for sponsoring this episode. All right, now back to part two. Trying times that shaped you, Michelle. We had some heavy moments back there too, and or maybe not, right? It wasn't until I got older that I realized that everybody's story wasn't my story, because I just somehow thought that everybody's story was the same back then. But and I'm listening to you talking all elegant, like I'm like, man, she had that in her from day one. She talking about she was scared. Like, listen, I was sweet as pie. I didn't back down from fights, but I ain't start them now. But I did finish them. Okay, moving right along. Okay,
That's right.
what's something from that season that shaped you, maybe even forced you to grow up faster?
So I'll tell a funny and I'll tell a serious. So I was raised an only child, And when you're raising an only child, you just have a skewed way of seeing life sometimes because you didn't have brothers and sisters to challenge you. You didn't have to like fight over the last hot dog. You know, it's just you and your parents. And so I had a skewed sense of my fight game, right? I'm sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke before I tell you. So let me try to reel it in. So again, I didn't have sisters and brothers to show me how to hold hands, and because I was somewhat kind of semi-popular, I didn't have to worry about a lot of fighting. So there was a new girl who came to the school. This was the third grade. And she was new. So that means she didn't come to the school year till weeks or months later. So she didn't really have her crew. So in my immaturity, I picked on her, right? I picked on Yolanda, and Yolanda took it for a long time. And Yolanda must have went home one night and told her mama that the girl sitting next to her has been picking on her. Well, that day Yolanda came back to school a renewed woman. As I picked on Yolanda that day, and baby, Yolanda laid hands. Yolanda said, I'm not taking it one more. When I tell you, Yolanda lit your girl up, okay? Yolanda to this day, all right? Now, I must have always had a crazy memory because after Yolanda handled her business, and guess who never got bullied by nobody for the rest of the school year? Yolanda. I saw her when I became a woman. I don't know how old I was, Terry, but I'm guessing that I was somewhere between 20 and 25. And I was like, Yolanda from Whittier, third grade. She's like, yeah. I said, oh my God, we were in the same class. And I used to bully you until you beat me up. She was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. She says, did I? Did I? I said, yeah, girl, you laid hands. You was tired of me. And she says, to God be the glory. I'm saved now, and it's all about Jesus. And if I hurt you, Michelle, I know because my nickname is Nikki, right? If I hurt you, Nikki, I'm so I'm like, no, because that butt whipping is exactly what your girl needed. Because guess who ain't never bully nobody again? So I thank God for Yolanda because at age, I don't know, how old are you in third grade? What, seven, eight?
Eight,
I don't know.
eight, eight. I
Yeah.
was I was eight in third grade.
Yeah, so that moment with Yolanda, the Lord used her because what if she hadn't stood her ground, right? And I went to another year believing that it was okay to hurt people, right? What if I went one more year believing that making fun and teasing people was okay? So I'm just grateful that God set your girl up. So that's on the funny side. But then I met a bully, right? I met what I should have gotten in third grade by the time I got to closer to high school. Her name was Belinda, and Belinda lived on a street called Banbury Street. And Belinda was a little chubby girl, and she was really mean. She's really mean. Maybe a couple years older, upperclassman is what we would have called her. And I was very dark skinned because I used to play in the sun. Like once upon a time, Terry, kids actually went outside and stayed in the sun, right? So I'm from the era that
And
stood
didn't want to
outside.
come back home. Like we wanted to stay outside until you saw that light go out at the corner of the block, and you knew you better scurry yourself back in the house or it was going down, right?
You
Go
know
ahead.
what? Like being outside was a thing, and she right because the street lights came on and the tone changed. So I'm this little smaller, very dark skinned girl, and I'm playing on Banbury Street. We used to say Banbury back in the day, but it's really pronounced Banbury Street. And Belinda used to call me burnt piece of bacon. That was my name. What's up, burnt piece of bacon? I mean, of all the most humiliating, horrible things to tell a child. And she said it with so much confidence and joy, Terry. Burnt piece of bacon. Look who coming down the street. And I would just tell you, honestly, that hurt. That hurt that Belinda called me that. So I saw Belinda as an adult too, right? But I'm not sure if I might have been in my 30s when I saw Belinda. I said, Belinda, how you doing? I haven't seen you since we was kids. And she says, really? I said, you don't remember me? I was like, Nikki. And she said, no, I'm sorry. I don't remember you. I said, well, how about this burnt piece of bacon? And she was like, girl. So she says, I'm sorry. That would be the first thing that you would say, right? So I did have some trauma around Belinda. So going forward, what was my lesson from Belinda was let it go. All right, like in my Elsa voice, let it go, okay? And so finally, let's move all the way to high school. Did anybody have allergies, but your parents didn't know how to treat it? Was I the only one that just nose ran all the time? Yeah, Terry. All I did in high school was blow my nose, and it didn't help that I kind of got like a little chubby nose. You know what I'm saying? Like blowing your nose and you got a
What high
chubby
school
nose.
did you go to? Or you want to keep that
Fells.
anonymous? Fells, you
I
went
went
to
to Fells.
Fells? Okay. Okay,
Uh
go
huh.
ahead.
I went to Fells. So mom didn't know to get me allergy pills, so I just had a lot of tissues in my pocket. And Ronald, I won't say his last name, but I'll say Ronald. Ronald called me Nakia Snot. For those of you who don't know, Michelle is my middle name. Nakia is actually my first name. And he called me Nakia Snot. And it took a long time for me to recover from this. But baby, guess what I got there? I got allergy pills, okay? I will never once be caught up again as that.
Now
So
take that,
there you
Ronald.
have it.
How about that? She got
There you
allergy
have it.
pills
Those are my
now.
four stories.
Well, listen, those were great, some great stories. When I thought about that, I was thinking about a time, an unfortunate time, where we were just so carefree to a fault. I remember being in the middle of a shootout, like literally between 27th and Allegheny and 26th and Allegheny, and they shooting from this way, they shooting from this way, and a childhood friend on the block. We're just like laughing. I mean, we're ducking, but we're laughing. And it's one of those moments, to God be the glory. But I do remember, and this is the question that I'm teeing you up for. Was there ever a time where you looked at where you were and thought, it gotta be something different? I remember that shootout, and I mean, I'm probably was about 11. And I remember saying, like, I don't want this. I want something else right now. Unfortunately, I chose another something else that I shouldn't have wanted, right? But I think might speak a little bit to my business savviness with negotiations now. But
That's right.
anyhow, because 12 was way too young to be all grown up. But I just remember seeing that and was like, I don't want to live here anymore. Now, of course, I didn't have all of the words to kind of add to that. I just felt like, is there something else outside of this? And so, was there ever a turning point for you, where you realized, right? And our humble beginnings don't mean it was all, humdrum and woe is me. But was there ever a time where you thought, like, I want more and I'm going to go after it?
So for me, that's a little bit challenging because I was extremely sheltered. Like I'm very open about that. I was very sheltered. My mother was a custodial parent, and at the time, her and my grandmother lived together and raised me. So there were a lot of experiences that I did not have when it came to like deep poverty or violence, right? I didn't know that 25 to 50 cents a day was a bad thing because I came home to great food, my clothes were fresh, right? Like I wasn't bullied, right? For the most part, except for Belinda. So I didn't have those experiences. So that's not quite what did it for me. What did it for me was by the time I had gotten to high school, I realized that we didn't have access to people that were not from the neighborhood. And then I realized, wow, there's got to be more people out here for me to meet. There's got to be some other folks. And that was when I got involved with working with choirs. And so, to your point, like, what was my aha moment? My aha moment was that somewhere by the time I was finishing high school, I realized that the people around me, and I'm not talking about my family, I just mean like neighbors or people that I had walked past on a daily basis, did not have ambition. I was surrounded by a lot of people who were okay with just eating, just existing, just getting a plate of food. And that was the thing. And I'm like, man, it's got to be more than just going to church and getting fat. I mean, it's got to be more to do than this. This, Lord, please, this can't be it. And I remember we had a church mother. Her name was Mother Moore. And Mother Moore had asked in Wednesday night Bible study. She said, if you could sin, would you? And I was like, yeah. Like, who wouldn't? I would be sinning right now. I wouldn't be in this boring Bible study. I tell you that much. And so she was like, oh God, Nikki, oh Lord, why would you say? I'm like, because it's true. Like, if I could sin and do a lot of bad things, I would not be with y'all. So that was my aha moment, that I do want more, right? There's got to be more out here, more travel, more places to go. And that was my first itch in being called into people development and leadership. And so we created something called the Rosebud Community Choir. And I went out in the streets with children and I would just sing and get gigs.
Oh wow, that's a fun fact. I wouldn't have known that. And I'm thinking, when you were telling the story about you bullying somebody, I'm like, I wouldn't have ever imagined that, right? But that's funny to me. I like,
Uh-huh.
thank you for sharing those fun facts. Okay, as we sort of come in for landing, who you speak to now, right? If you could talk to the younger version of yourselves at the intersection of Allegheny Avenue and wherever, what would you say to her? Um, what would you say to her?
The truth is, I would tell her, stock. If you don't know nothing else, stocks, invest, Google, Chat GPT. Like, I would just start yelling all the stocks that have gone up, because that was the one thing, Terry, that I was completely and totally removed from. The people who I was surrounded by or was attracted into my life were guiding lights to treat people with love and kindness, and to strive for excellent service and solutions, to be your best and your highest self. So everyone around me had the aura of heart potential, but I was not surrounded by people like you tell the story of your father, who literally gave you game about how to look at money and to use it as a tool. So allowance for me was $5 or $10. So money. The beautiful thing about that was, to this day, while I enjoy the benefit of money, it's not the thing that moves me. People move me more than anything else. But I do wish that as a younger woman, that I understood the power of money. So I would say that I would tell myself to learn more about cash flow.
Yeah, and I think what I would say to my younger self is take your time and grow up. Take your time, be kind to yourself. I think I got into this rat race and never slowed down. Like, it was trying to pursue certain things. And so, well, I had my father, who only have a ninth grade education, but he did later introduce me in my early 20s to the Lord after he done gang bang, been in and out of prison, sold drugs. They ran speakeasies, and that was the life that we was surrounded around. And I'm thankful because my street knowledge has taken me a lot of places that textbook knowledge would not have ever taken me, or can't take me. And while I'm grateful for all of that, I think I got into this, and it wasn't trying to be like my siblings because I was the youngest, or be like my parents. My mother was highly educated, but I just really would have told her, pump the brakes, enjoy the moment, right? And don't be all grown up. Like, what did they used to say back in the day when it was a child who was sassy? Not what I'm talking about, but what did they used to say? You too grown. Stop being so grown, right? And so I would tell myself, listen, while I wasn't a sassy child, and I was pretty quiet. But I was always thinking about my next move and where I was going and who I was going to meet up with, always strategizing and negotiating all the way backwards, all of the wrong things. Um, and so that's what I would tell myself. So, all right, Michelle, unless you want to weigh in on that, out of everything we experienced, the hood, the laughter, the hard moments, the friendships, what's one lesson from those days that still guides how you move today in relationships, money, faith, business, or just purpose?
I do want to reflect on your response too. I want to say this to the whole world listening because again, this is a global girl, so we got global listeners. I'm so grateful that Terry and our paths like split because while I stayed very, very heavy on community, I stayed heavy on people. Terry's life experiences took her to be able to have a perspective that the people who she grew up with didn't have. And I want to lean heavy on that for a second because, being able to come back to this place like 4 decades later, how awesome is it that people like me get to have conversations with a girl who almost lived next door, who now has business in multiple countries. Like, what the heck? What? Who dreams like that? Right? I mean, that just wasn't even a thought. It didn't come across my wildest imagination that one day, not that I could just be in business. Yeah, I had that thought. Not that I could just own things and be successful, but Terry's path has allowed her to come back to leaders such as myself and say that the vision you have can be blown up exponentially because there are people who desire you from different places. So Terry, I just wanted to just acknowledge, thank you for the work you have put in to help the helper, to help the helper. Um, your question, one more time. Ask me again. What's the last question you just asked?
Child, you done choked me up. And tomorrow I'm releasing something about Ghana, and the work that we do, the business that's happening over there. And, you just reinforce, like, so I don't do a lot, I don't share a lot because it's just not who I am. I moved very privately as a child and even through my adult life. But you had said something to me 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was just last week, that said I really need to share that because there's a scripture in Second Corinthians chapter 6, verses 11 through 12, and Paul is saying, "My dear, dear Corinthians," he says, "the smallness that you feel is inside." He said, "Your life is not small, but you're living it in a small way. Open up yourself wide, live openly and expansively. And we know that this is the word of God. This is the heart of God. Every scripture is inspired by him. And there's a world that he wants us to see. You know, there is a life that we get to enjoy here on earth. And, you know, you reinforce that. Like I kind of will, you know, shrink in a little bit, not for no other reason. It's just not who I am. But was led to share something tomorrow that invite people in on believing bigger, dreaming bigger, even in light of all of the things that we are experiencing that can make you feel fenced in, small, unseen. But that is not who our God is. That is not the life that you are resigned to have only. And so, Michelle, you know, you said it. And again, every time you bring that up, you're about the only person who really shares this with me. And it just resonates a little bit differently each time and deeper. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for bringing and highlighting what God has done in our lives. And as we've been saying throughout this entire episode today, to God be the glory for the great things he has done, he is doing, and he will do. Like he can't do anything else. Like he just can't, you know. So thank you, Michelle. So the question was, after everything that you experienced, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, what are some of those things? What is something, one lesson that carries you and informs the work you do today, or maybe not work, but in relationships and your purpose, or in money and business, whatever it is? What is one lesson that has carried you to present day?
um, Again, as I mentioned before, that I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. So my grandmother used to smoke something called Marlboro cigarettes, right? Again, some of my old heads going to understand a Marlboro cigarette. And she would smoke these cigarettes and leave the butts in the trays. And for some reason, one day I wanted to experience it. So I picked up the butts from out of the cigarette tray and started smoking them. Now they were out. These weren't lit cigarettes, but I'm imagining smoking these butts like grandma. And my mother was running down the steps for whatever reason. So I didn't have time to put the butts down. So I put them in my mouth. I put like two or three in my mouth. And I'm sitting there like this. And so my mom said, "What's in your mouth?" I said, she said, "So there's nothing in your mouth?" She says, "Well, do you have those cigarette butts in your mouth?" So I'm like, she says, "Open up your mouth and let me see," right? So she smashed my cheeks and forced me to spit the cigarette butts out, and I got on punishment, for lying. Yeah, that's a thing that we used to get when we didn't get a beating. We got punishments, right? And so, Terri, the lesson in smoking these fake cigarettes, so to speak, getting caught, having to spit them out, dealing with the humiliation and being on punishment, that was probably one of my most significant lessons in dishonesty and lying. Like I think that stuck with me in a way that has shaped my life because I'm just a bad liar. I'm a really, really bad liar. So I do my best to be as genuine as I can. I may not be completely open because some things you have to just keep guarded, but I do my very best to not be dishonest because I've been bad at it apparently my whole life, right? And then I'll say, as a woman in business, having like the consciousness of someone who is authentic, I do make mistakes. I don't always get everything right with my clients. Sometimes the ball gets dropped when you're talking about people services. Again, it's not sandwiches, it's people services. It's very delicate, it's very volatile. But because my intention was good, even when I mess up and people like, oh, well, you told me I'm going to get 2 apples and you only got one, I only got 1 apple. Oh, okay. Is that what I said? Then I can apologize for that because I know I'm grounded in having did my best to be honest. And I can apologize and fix it versus lying. And then I got to try to figure out what lie I told just to get over on people. So, perfect person, no. Get it right all the time, no. But I do my very best to be consistently genuine.
And I can, attest to that. Not just because she's my homie from the hood, but I am also a part of her community. You should always stay tapped into good coaching and mentorship, especially if you are, you have a progressive mindset, you have a big calling on your life, or you just want to do great things for yourself, your family, and for generations to come. And so there has been times where it hasn't been perfect, but she has gone out her way to make sure I felt that the accountability part of it, taking the responsibility. And so, what I would say to you is, and that's one of the things with the hood, right? You knew what you was getting, and whatever it was, and I can echo that. I believe, who we genuinely try to show up as and be is because we saw people, even if they was raggedy, that's who they were, and what you was gonna do about it. Now you ain't gonna do nothing about it, right? Like you was just gonna live through them being raggedy, right? And so with that, I'm gonna do something really fun. We're gonna do 30 questions in 90 seconds, but before that, please share about your community, and how people can get in touch with you. There's I want to say this. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about choosing good or bad, and it's in Deuteronomy, and I believe it's 28. And the Lord says, choose, eat good, right? Like he's like, you know, giving you an option to choose good or evil, let's just say. But choose good, right? And so I'm gonna say you need to choose a mentor or a coach, and don't think about it. You need to make sure you tap in is critical to growth.
So it's my cue to tell them how they reach me. That was an awesome setup. Wow. I was waiting for somebody else to come in here. So all things grow with snow, right? So if you go to our website, growwithsnow.com, that's the easiest place to reach us. I'm on most of the most popular social media platforms. I mean, I know there's all kinds of stuff out here, vines and threads and all this other stuff, but the basic stuff, right? All the old school stuff like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, like all the basic stuff. You can find me as Michelle Snow, or Grow with Snow. And I'll share with you all that I'm very excited. One of the things that makes our brand unique versus other people who identify as business coaches or who identify as strategists is that, while I do love a social media platform, I think that this is a critical part of growth. I would like to say that, what makes our brand unique is that I have my own clients. So outside of trying to help individuals, we work with schools, colleges, universities, and other government departments. And one of our clients happens to be the Free Library of Philadelphia. And the next date that we're doing a live podcast is going to be March the 18th in Philadelphia. So if you reach out to me on any of the platforms, we'll send you the reservation, which is completely and totally complimentary because the free library is paying your way. So come to our live studio audience and get your business plugged.
I put March 18th at the Free Library, I should say, of Philadelphia, because our viewers are international and national. So let me just put that in there. And is there a time?
Yes, 10:30 a.m. seating starts with complimentary snacks and beverages, and the behind the scenes pre-show starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Philadelphia. This is an in-person event. We won't be going hybrid just yet. So if you can physically get to Philadelphia, I promise you, you're in for a treat.
Well, listen, you definitely want to be in environments that can help you expand. I say it all the time, exposure leads to expansion. And, while this opportunity is available, make sure you tap in and make sure you invite as many people as you can. There's nothing like networking. There's a saying that your net worth equals your network. So, if that's the case, make sure you have a high yielding network, right? So these are our environments that you want to get into that will help you do that. One of the things Michelle said, and we're going to jump into these rapid fire questions, that she would tell her young self is to make sure you invest. And I want to say this is something I say at all of my segments. Money, I need you to know and I need you to declare money is not hard to make. Money is not hard to make. Money is not hard to make. But how you make sure that you have enough money, that you get ahead, that you're not living check to check, is that you not only make it, but that you manage it, that you maintenance it, and that you multiply it, right? And that's how we increase our financial power, which gives us options, right? Options to live, options to retire when we want to, vacation when we want, all of the things that we should be living to position ourselves to live, not live in perpetual cycles of stress, strain, struggle, and survival. No, and I want to say this boldly, that does not have to be your story, and that doesn't have to be the end of the story. You can get to a place where you perpetually live, be, and thrive, but you have to position yourself to do that, because nothing just happens. So you want to invest. Real estate is my investment of choice, because you get a more yields, you can control how much you make, you can pass it down, you can do a ton of things, right? But whatever, make sure you invest. And what I want to leave you with today is, just if you ever thought about investing in real estate, I'm going to put something up on the screen, and it is one of my freebies that I give, and it's a pathway to property profits, and it just gives you some insights into how to invest in real estate, and how you can take that to the next level. Again, you want to make sure you're investing, because, right, you want to use your money and see money as a tool to make more money. And how I know we need more money, because we wouldn't be going to jobs we really don't like, sometimes sick and busted over going, right. We wouldn't be, moody when we don't have it. Some of us are tired of telling people, well, I would if I had. And there is a place, because God is Jehovah Jireh, and he's more than enough, and we want to help you get there. So make sure you at least start a path of investing. Our jobs were not designed to help us get rich. Some of them don't even help us meet the cost of living. And right now, right, you want to be on the side of the prepared versus the unprepared. And so you can take a little, there's low barrier to entry in a lot of investment spaces, but you want to be in the environments that can help you get there. Business is an asset class, which Michelle does an awesome job with helping to build folks' businesses. So make sure you get down to the free library March 18th, at 10:30 a.m. Don't meet her there, beat her there, and make sure you tap into the free resource that we dropped, and we will have once this episode ends. All right, Michelle, you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it.
All right, let me get my timer here so I can keep you honest. Along the day where people get through it, they start off like, "Yeah, this is gravy. I got it, child."
I have
Then
the
they be
answer.
like,
It's not yes or no. It's like answering.
it's an answer, and then don't. I'm gonna tee you up. People be stopping, talking to me, giving me hypotheticals. Ma'am, sir, you on a timer, right? This ain't the
All
point of
right. Okay.
discussion. All right, all right. You
Gotcha.
ready? Five, four, three, two, one. Penny cookies are now leaders.
Penny cookies.
Corner store chips, barbecue or sour cream.
Barbecue.
Bus or walking everywhere.
Woo. Walking.
Summer nights or snow days.
Summer nights.
Middle school Michelle, quiet or spicy.
Spicy, baby.
High school crush, harmless or headache.
High school crush, Kahari.
First job, loved it or hated it.
First job, loved it.
Biggest trouble you almost got into.
Ooh, we can't say that. Next.
Not the past. Who kept you grounded back then?
Um, Kaisha and Netta.
One song that takes you back instantly.
I need love. LL.
Broad and Allegheny memory in one word.
Missing the doggone 60 bus and being pissed about it.
were you the were you the fighter, peacemaker, or observer?
All of them.
Damn. Dream you had back then.
Being a secretary and carrying a briefcase to work with knee highs.
Ma'am, you on a timer. Why y'all be trying to have full conversations about the stuff? I didn't ask you about the stockings or
Sorry.
nothing. You good? Well, time is up, but let's keep going. Did you think you'll be where you are now?
No.
First big I made it through moment.
The day that all my businesses paid me money on the same day.
Oh, come through here. Hard lesson learned early. Don't be picking on people. Survival skill.
Yes. There you go. Bam, what she said.
Survival skill you still use today.
I have a temper.
Okay. That's a survival skill. Would you just scream at everybody and they go away? They did. They like shit.
I mean, my as kind as I am, which I do that most of the time, my other side, she's awful.
I'm laughing because we all got, alter ego. Like,
Uh-huh.
Jesus. What motivates you now?
Oh, seeing the success of my people, hands down.
What scares you now?
Can I say it? It's the R word. Not scared as in fear, but just how sick this world is.
Yeah. Yeah. One word to describe your younger self.
Naive.
One word to describe you today.
Confident.
What changed you the most, pain or opportunity?
Pain.
Best advice you've ever received?
Keep going.
Worst advice you ignored?
Michelle, I got this investment for you. You should get in. You said worst or best advice?
Worst advice you ignored. So
Oh,
they
worst
told you
advice.
that and
Okay.
then you ignored it.
Yeah, the best advice I got was you should do this investment, and I didn't do it. Worst advice that I ignored. Oh yeah, I never got high before, so I've been offered a lot to be high. I never got high.
Okay. Money mindset back then, spend or save?
Spin, baby.
Money mindset now, build or multiply?
It has to be both. It's still both.
Okay. Faith stronger now or then?
Oh yeah, definitely now. Yeah,
What
yeah.
does success mean to you?
Freedom. Honestly, yeah, freedom.
Legacy, what does that word mean? We kick it around. What does that mean?
It's going to outlast this skin I'm in.
Amen. Amen. Finish this sentence, and this is question number 30. The hood didn't break me, it blanked me.
Oh man, the hood did not break me. It blessed me.
Yes. Okay, I love your shirt, girl. Your sweatshirt. What does it say?
Me too. Terry Brown Taylor gave it to me. Uh,
What does it say?
coffee. What's the next one? Contracts. And you tell them.
Closings all year, baby. 2026. We're gonna drink our coffee when we need it. We're gonna get them contracts and we close it every single time. I just got hyped. She didn't know that was coming. All right. And that right there is extremely growth. Um, Listen, thank you, Michelle. This has been amazing. Thank you for being the trooper that you are and always rocking with your girl. Thank you for spending time on this Tuesday, allowing an environment where we can just hang as homies. I appreciate you much. I pray that God increases you more and more in impact, influence, and income. You get the final word.
I'm grateful. To God be the glory. It's up from here. I don't care what this economy says to you, what this fake media says to you. It's up from here. God bless you, everybody. You too can wake up winning. Again, I see you on the other side. Bye.